Viper Professional Training and Support webinar. Today's date is October 2nd, 2023. The title of tonight's webinar, this is a Monday night webinar, is Training on Object Trader and Viper Clone, as well as other trade setups we're going to talk about tonight. And as everyone knows, it's been to our webinars or our live trading room. Everything we say and do at Viper Trading Systems is for educational purposes only. Futures trading, Forex trading, any kind of financial instrument trading involves risk. Therefore, there's always risk of loss. You should only trade discretionary capital, and that is money that you can afford to lose. Nothing said in this webinar. Other webinars I have, live trading room or anything else with Viper Trading Systems, should never be construed as trading or investment advice. And as always, everyone does trade at their own sole discretion. Any questions on the disclaimer? All right, I don't see any, so let's go ahead and go to the members area right off. You can, of course, log in to go there. But you will see that under the download the latest scripts, the newest script is called, and it's dated 9/29/23 Viper Clone, and it's right here on the website, okay? So you will want to install this, and you'll want to overwrite anything that is older, like OT Plus or OT Boss, anything like that. Any Viper scripts, you'll want to remove that, the Object Power Trader dot controls, and also the toolkit. And the video will walk you through it. This little video right here. Okay. Let's see, is it set up for replay use? It is, Jim. Now the only thing is though, think about replay though. You can't clone, because replay only does replay 101. So, I mean, you could replay it and, pretend you're in other, accounts and everything, but to really do it, you have to do it either live or, check it out some other way. But replay 101, you can't set up replay 102, 103 and all that. But I do have some accounts set up tonight, so we're going to kind of go over those. Okay, so anyway, this is always going to be where the most updated scripts are, and I'll always tell you the dates and everything. So if you just look on the website under login, you'll see that. Okay, so let's go ahead and take this down. We don't need it. Well, real quick, let's do one other thing. If you haven't, really been with us a while and you want to kind of know where some training is, things like that, be sure and go to your members area, because there's lots and lots of training there. But this is going to be updated over the next few weeks and months, because I'm starting to do some little videos on NT8 Object Trader. And so those will be put in a special area on the members area pretty soon, okay? All right, and of course, your weekly links. If you ever miss your email, by the way, your weekly links are always here. Okay, just go to your members login. They're right there, weekly links, and it's always updated. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and go to a chart here. And now this is not data that you're seeing in oil right now. Okay, I'm playing this in sim because we're going to show how to do the little trader. Now, what I would recommend doing anytime you want to use Object Trader. See, like I've got a whole bunch of object traders that I want to show you here. And you want to kind of get rid of these, okay? See here, all of these, because this will stop me from using Object Trader if I try to use that account or something like that. So I highlighted them, you just right click, remove them all, and they're done, okay? That way, when I start, I've got my strategies nice and clean. Okay, that's pretty important. All right, so let's go ahead. Now, Object Trader has been updated, and I know a bunch of you in here know it because you're pretty much in the room and keep up with everything, but there's people in here that probably didn't come in the room today, and I'm going to show you some things about what's been added to Object Trader, okay? And keep in mind, it's really close to being literally finished, but few little updates here and there, okay? My wife says it'll never be finished, and she's probably right. Okay, but anyway, Object Trader now has a new little, basically a little menu up here that'll pop up called Viper Clone, And all you have to do to get that is it's inside Object Trader. Object Trader is a strategy, okay? So basically, what you'll want to do is go to your strategies, okay? The newest strategy is called Object Trader 3.01, okay? Now, one thing that's really nice about this strategy is that you can put it in sim if you want to. You know, if you've read Trade Copier or Replicando's things that they tell you not to do, they tell you not to put theirs as the leader account in sim. We don't care because ours operates from within the strategy. Okay, so that makes it kind of nice in a way, because if you think about it, you can actually put it in sim 101. Okay, you click to enable it. All right, if you want to show your account number and everything, you make it display. All right, and then you just simply click apply. Okay, now you'll notice that my sim 101 is up here. This is called my main account, right? So if I trade this, you know, let's say for instance that I decide that I want to trade this and just hit the market order. Of course, it'll fire a market order, and it won't fire it on any other accounts unless I tell it to. Okay, so let's say that I just wanted to play with this in sim. Obviously, I could just simply, you know, wait for that bar to close or just hit, you know, like a market order, and you'll notice that it will not do anything except that sim account. Okay, let me just bring this over so we can all watch this. Okay, because this is going to work really, really good. All right, so I'm going to put this always on top so it'll stay on top. Okay, so see, if I was trading just sim, for instance, okay, I'm fine. I can just play all day if I want to. Okay, but what if I decided that I wanted to add some other accounts? Well, the Viper clone lets you do that. Now, I've actually purposely put on some extra accounts on here in sim because the market's just not moving enough, unfortunately. But if you look here, you'll see that I have sim 101 and then sim account 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, now let's say, for instance, that I decided that, hey, this has already made like 70 bucks, but I'm in sim, doggone it. So what if this just comes back just a little bit and I decide, you know what, I want to go ahead and close this out, and maybe I want to go ahead and go into some of these accounts. Okay, just pretend these are Apex accounts, or, you know, maybe you've got sub accounts under your own account. You know, you can even do that. If NinjaTrader still lets you do that, they did years ago. Okay, now when you first put on a strategy on your chart, okay, when you click one of these, it's going to come up with this little error deal right here. Not an error, but it's a little window that says it's your sole responsibility to monitor your positions, okay, in all cloned accounts. So you have to click that, okay. Notice that this even went away because that little window came up. But now what if I said, you know what, that looks like it's going to bounce before it takes this out, and I wanted to say, maybe this is my Apex accounts, and maybe I wanted to trade 5 of them, something like that. Well, what if then this decided to bar close up? You'll notice that if that bar closes up now, that this will trade in all the accounts that I just selected there. Now that's a really, really good feature. See there? See how quickly that's in 6 accounts because we picked 5, and we also have our main account. Now the beauty of this is, over even like Replicando or Trade Copier, is that you don't have to worry about remembering which accounts you set up for your sim or your other accounts, anything like that. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let me pause the screen just a second, and I'm going to put Replicando on, and we'll get this little trend deal out of the way, but I want to show you something here. This makes this a little bit more difficult, in my opinion, than ours is. Okay, let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, and just pretend these are Apex accounts, because we're having to do this all in sim tonight because the market's just not moving, and I want to get this webinar, you know, posted and everybody to know what's going on. Okay, so, but keep in mind, see what we just did just then. Now, now you know you hit mid-band trades all the time, okay? But look what this will actually do, though, if you just simply, let's see if we can put that. You can't do that always on top. But we put that in 5 accounts plus the main one. So there you just did 90, 90, 90, 90, 90, and this one must have been traded before. Well, we did. Matter of fact, we traded it before we turned those on. But look how quickly you could be up 270, 360, 450, $610. See what I mean? So this is going to be a real deal with Viper scripts, in my personal opinion. I've already really, kind of, I'm cozy with it. I love it. Okay. So let me show you the replicando though. Okay. Replicando. What if I said, okay, uh, let's bring this down a little bit. What if I said I wanted to trade gold, but let's pretend this is apex number 1, and this is apex number 2, and this is number 3, and this is number 4, or maybe you blew 4 and you got 5 now. Okay, see what I mean? So you have to remember those things when you're trading something like replicando, because then you have, like, let's say for instance, I want to do oil, but instead of on oil, I want to do maybe my sim 101, like pretend that's your apex number 2, and then this is like say 5, 6, and 7. Well, guess what? To remember that while I'm trading, that's not that easy to do, because I got to think, okay, my leader is sim 101, my followers, okay, I got that. And then I go and I go, oh, okay, oil is this one plus these. You see what I mean? So with ours, you simply set up a chart for oil, you set up a chart for gold. Then you can choose the accounts. Real easy to do because you always know what your accounts are. See, that's going to be so much better in the long run. Now, if you trade all your accounts on Replicando, for instance, it's no big deal. Okay, because you would just be doing this. Account number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And you'd remember that, okay? But maybe you don't want to do that. So with ours, you don't have to do that. You can just simply choose which accounts you want to clone, okay? Now, the way Replicado works and the way we work is that when you fire on your leader account, which is, we'll just call this your leader account because it's your main account, then it's going to fire on any clone accounts. And Replicando virtually does the same thing. Okay, let's see. Walter or Kenneth says, with Replicando, I've taken a great trade and then found out I was not running the right leader. I know, I've done that probably a good 5 or 6 times myself, because you forget that, on maybe your gold you wanted to trade, maybe you got a PA number 2 and you forget that it's not number 1, and maybe on CL it's number 1 and not number 2. That's hard to remember. Now, like I say, if you just put it on, and put all of them on, then it's no big deal because you're going to remember that every time you're trading everything. But even then, you would have to be on the leader, because if you picked, let's pretend this is account Apex 01, 02, 03, 04, and so on. Well, if you started trading on 03 instead of that, you're not following at all. See, so that to me makes it more difficult. I've done the same thing Kenneth is talking about. You forget that you didn't have your main account and remember what it was. Also, if you happen to put up 2 windows on Replicando and not remember it, and let's say that you had CL and you had it also, maybe this one was minimized, and then you had this one on CL and like this, well, guess what? Then when you fire an order, you're going to fire on Replicando, you're going to fire on Viper clones, and you're going to fire on this other window. See what I mean? So to me, that is more difficult. Okay, this is going to be something so much easier. Okay, and when Charles was alive, remember, he loved simplicity. I lean a little bit more towards the difficult side because I like building things that are cool and really work great. But I also don't want it to be like drinking out of a fire hose. I want it to be easy. Now, didn't this make sense that this is harder to do than that? And if I minimize these, guess what? If I fire a trade right now in my Sim 101 account, okay, well, guess what? It's firing. I'll show you. See there, replicando loop prevention perform check your configuration or contact flowback support. So, you know, what kind of an error was that? You see what I mean? Okay. So the reason they caught that is because they had dual windows. But see, by the time that happened, you might have missed a trade that literally just went, you know, to the moon. You see what I mean? And you're sitting there going, oh, doggone it. You know, something, what have I got wrong? You know, why have I got all these positions? See there, all those positions? That could kill your account. Okay. So what we've done is simply, and by the way, if I close this out right here, notice that replicando still has that one. Okay. So don't do them both at the same time. I would simply take my replicando, turn it off, my replicando, turn it off. Use Viper clone because you basically have the Viper clone as part of your object trader now. So why not utilize it? And it works so neat. The one thing I was talking to the programmer about, I don't know if he can do it or not because we're going to have to expand this window. But wouldn't you like to have this say like 300K, 50K, 150K? That way you know which account you're trading. I'd kind of like to have that. So I'm talking to him about that. Now we are going to add the crossovers. Everybody know what a crossover is? Crossover would simply be, we would set up a table for all the micros. So if you wanted to trade CL on this account, but a micro on another one, you'll be able to click a little button. It's not ready yet, but there will be a little checkbox and then you'll be able to trade micros on one and then full accounts on the other. Okay, let me show you something else you can do too. Okay, let me get another chart. Show you something neat here too. If you go to the same chart that you're on, all right, and you simply, let's get this out of the way for just a minute. You decide that you want to go ahead and do more contracts on one of these accounts. Let's go ahead and put this on top. I hope this doesn't get confusing because it's really not confusing, but I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let's say that I wanted to fire, let's say if that bar closes up, we want to go ahead and fire on all these accounts. But let's just pretend that number 5 is a $300,000 account. And instead of doing 2 contracts, I want to do like 5. Okay. All I've got to do is go to my chart trader, wait till that account number 5 clicks on. Now see, that's in 2, and I can simply go this one, account number 5, and add like that. Okay, but when these targets are hit, this will also be killed. Okay, this does have a stop in it, even though it doesn't show here. It's got a target. Watch when it hits that target. And it hits the very top one and it'll take everything off the table. So this should take 1 off. See there? That took 1. Now what's this next one going to do? It's only 1. What's it going to do? What do you think? It's going to close this one out totally. See there? Now this would be a way to ensure that some of your larger accounts, if you just simply have a chart trader up, you'll be able to actually fire more contracts on even a couple of them if you wanted to. Okay. So this is kind of a neat deal that he built into it for us so that we don't even have to worry about adding quantities to these. Because if you think about it, let's go back to Replicano for just a second. I want to show you something here. I'm going to get a flow box. All right, they've got what they call ratios, okay? If I wanted to do a ratio, all right, of like this account as like 2, and this one having a ratio of say 4, then sim account 1 would be 8 contracts. But it's going to continue being 8 contracts because that ratio is going to stay there. Okay, so to me, that's a little bit much. Okay, because I don't want that ratio to stay there. If I just add 2 contracts, I don't want to add 8 every time. So this idea to me works even better, simply because I could go in with 1. All right, I could go in with 1. Notice that that's in there. Well, what if I decided, you know what, that's a $300,000 account, so I'm just going to go for the gusto on it. Well, guess what? If it hits its stop, it'll kill those 10 contracts. So, you know, and I'm not saying to do 10, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that these stops and targets will take you out of the trade. See there? Okay. So that's pretty cool. And you don't have to worry about having it set as ratios. They're going to constantly, you know, kind of, well, 4 times or 5 times. Bashir, OT is working with Chart Trader, but you're doing the clones. That's the key to it, okay? Because let me show you here, for instance, okay? Let's go in 1 contract, all right? Notice that this goes into 1, okay? Let's go into 3, all right? Let me show you, or 4. Let's just get this out of the way for a second. Now, the way you can do on this, also, as long as you don't mess with your main account, I can go to account 5, take 1 off, okay? I can go to account 4, take 1 off. I can go to account 3, take 1 off if I want to, and notice that this one still has 4, okay? These have 3 left, but still when they hit their targets, it will take it all out, okay? And you could even go to your control center, and let's say you got positions here. Maybe I don't want this. Let's say this account is closer to maybe failing or something, okay? What if I said, you know what, let's just close that position entirely on that one, maybe close that one entirely. As long as I don't mess with my main account, I can do anything I want through here, okay? Because my main account is still going, okay? Now, once, like I say, once you hit these targets, it will kill this one. Notice it's in 1, okay? But as soon as it hits those targets, it'll kill this one also. So we did kind of design it so that you could use Chart Trader, but don't mess with this one on here. Okay, for instance, if I go to Sim 101 and close that one, then I've just messed myself up on these other ones possibly. Now, maybe not, since I'd be closing it. See how that went away totally because it only had 1 left? All right, and then notice that when it goes to the next ones, it'll fire all of them off, or it should. Okay? So play around with it and see what you think, because these are some really, really good features that'll make a difference in your bottom line, in my opinion. See, they're totally flat. Okay. Now, by doing this, you're going to be able to actually get some of these trades that you're not quite as sure of. You know, what if they go a little bit lower? Let's take this trade here. Although it was a sim type trade, this is still a setup that happens all the time, right? So what if you got in that trade on a box and it went a little bit against you? Well, your stop would literally be right down here to begin with on like a 1 contract. So if this was to go up and pull down a little bit and still get a higher low and give you this nice of a run, that can happen all the time. But what if you started with like 4 contracts and it goes down that low. Then you're down like, say, $300 or something like that. Well, with one, you do like even, for instance, Randy's in the room right now. In his account this morning, it was simply just going for X number of ticks, hitting 200 some odd dollars, but we literally did it on 8 accounts. And that can make a huge difference in your trading. Okay, so this is something I've wanted added to Object Trader for a long, long time, and we finally got it. Okay, does anybody have any questions on the Viper clone? Because the Viper clone is simply, you get out of a trade, you've still got those cloned accounts, okay? So it's ready to go again. But if you don't want all those accounts, you just simply turn the ones off that you want. Did I have a chance to test the Viper clone in a fast market? I know Replicon on Apex Trader goes through the stop and will reverse the follower accounts and add more accounts. You know, I've actually played this in really fast, you know, like NQ and stuff, and I haven't had that happen. But I can tell you this, that in a fast market, you really do want to watch your bottom line. Not a question about that. Okay, so let's see, Bob says, so Replicon, you just do it once. If I have multiple charts, I have to set up the clone on every chart. No, not at all. I was just showing you how to add into extra charts. But if you just wanted to trade, you know, for instance, here's your Viper clone. Let me get this out of the way. Let's just make this do a nice retrace first, and then get into a trade and show you. Yeah, you don't, all I was showing you was that you could use Chart Trader on your other accounts if you wanted to add or subtract or something like that. But you can still subtract on this one. But what I was showing is you could even have multiple, you know, contracts on another account and still remove them, and yet this is still going to keep you up to date with zeroing out your accounts when it hits those targets and stops. Okay, let's just pretend this was going to come back to right on top of here. Okay, and we wanted to get in like on a little box. Just go ahead and do our little close box, and we'll let it do its thing. See how the box is doing right there? Well, what if all of a sudden you said, okay, I'm going to go long if this touches inside that box. Okay, if it does. And keep in mind, I'm controlling this because I'm trying to show you how to use this little tool. See how that does right there? Now, if I had this on auto trading, it would simply keep adding as long as I didn't get up to my max contracts. Okay. See, you're in 2, now you're in 3. Okay. And you could be in 4 pretty quick, or just 3. We got it set on 3. Okay. So Bob, on your question, no, it's just like Replicando, but better in a lot of ways, simply because I can control it on here, but I could also do a chart trader if I wanted to, like here. And what if I said, you know what, my $300,000 account, I like that, boom, boom, add a couple of more or something like that. Now that's independent. We didn't do that one right because we didn't have it selected. See, we didn't select them all. I only selected the one. Okay, so I'd have to go to sim account 1 if I wanted to do something like that. Okay, but on this right here, this is going to actually reduce the trades by hitting targets or stops. Stop would simply stop you out totally. You'll be able to see on your control center your positions at any given time. You can't change this on the fly. It won't let you. Okay, to put more accounts in, I would have to wait for a pullback and then put more accounts in. See, you're only in 2 right now. Okay, but if you hit close and you decided, you know what, I kind of like that trade, I want to try it on some more accounts, like so, and then it would go ahead and fire on all of them. You'll see it in just a second. If let's just make it do it. Because what we're showing here is just how this will do. I've got it 2 ticks above. Now keep in mind, we're not this is sim data I'm playing, okay? So let me rephrase it. Cloning has to be set up for different instruments on each chart. Well, oh, I see what you mean. Well, you're doing the same thing on Replicano. You're just actually doing it ahead of time. But yeah, if I wanted to trade like gold, to give an example, I just go new chart, gold, my template, and then I can do the same thing over here. I just go to Object Trader, set up my Object Trader, set it on Sim or whatever account I want, and there it is, okay? Now, if I wanted to trade gold, I just simply choose which clone accounts I want. See, the beauty of this is it's always set with your main account and your clones. It's real easy to keep up with that way, okay? That is the clone. It's a beautiful little feature deal. If you hit close on the main account, it's going to close them all. See there, just that easy. Okay. Now, also keep in mind, obviously, let's turn this back off. We don't need it. Let's just close it. All right. See, I had that turned on auto. So this is going to allow you to, kind of dip the toe, so to speak. And keep in mind, let's say that you were down, maybe you hit a 12 ticks and you're thinking, oh my goodness, well, if you were in 4 contracts, you're down $500. But if you're in 1 contract, you're down 120. And then what if it bounced right before, let's say this went a little bit deeper than normal and it even changed backgrounds or something, or maybe it did a phantom instead, and that way you hold on to a trade. Just a pretty good way with 1 contract to kind of hold on to things, in my opinion. Okay, that was the best day, by the way. Not the best trade that Randy has done, but it was the best day that he's had because he traded multiple accounts. And it was less stressful, I can tell you that. Because sometimes you get into 2 or 3 contracts, all they got to do is be that one particular time where they decide to reverse it a little bit first before they move it back up again, and you can get hosed pretty quick. But with 1 contract, it's not quite as easy. Another thing, like I said, I think I'll like about it too, is that, the ability to click a box and choose micros if you want. But keep in mind that we're not going to have the ratios. You'll have to be on a separate chart. We may do the ratios before it's over, but I want it to where if you get into it, the ratio goes away. That way you don't just keep, like if I add a contract and I've got 5-to-1 ratio, I don't want to add 5 more contracts. You see what I mean? I might want to start with 3 or 4 and then add 1, but I don't want it to have ratios staying there like Replicano would. Okay, because once you set that on Replicano, it's going to be that ratio. See, if I set this on a ratio of 4-to-1, every time I hit a contract, that's going to be 4 contracts. Okay, because once you set it and you're in it, you can't change any of this. Okay. All right, so let's look at last week. I talked quite a bit about the auto region close and the tick, how to use it. So go back to that webinar if you need help with that. And we also talked about bar close. So let's talk about wedge tonight, and we'll try to get even to midband and phantom if I get time. But let me show you a couple of things about the wedge. All right. Now the wedge, I'm probably going to get a little bit of redesigning on it before everything's over. Okay, because I don't like it exactly the way it is, but let me show you what I mean. If you click wedge, it draws the 2 lines. Okay, now these 2 lines are rays that you just simply move them where you want them. Okay, and if they happen to, break, let's say for instance this decides to go above this line, then this wedge would fire a trade as soon as it touches that line plus 0 ticks. So literally just 1 tick above it. Okay. What if I said, you know what, if this breaks this trend line, maybe I want to go short. Okay. Then I could simply set these enables like this. Now see how that went in that one? It just touched that top is all it did. Okay. That's the wedge. That's a powerful little tool in Object Trader also. I like it. Okay. Now keep in mind that some of the best ones, see that little trade here, or like, you know, this is a real trade right here. See where you kind of drew a wedge and you could have gotten a nice long, for instance. Although I think oil is actually still heading down right now. But the way the regions are, the wedge, okay, and even the predictors, they use these LESE. Now, see how that says LD, SD, RD? That means disabled. So for instance, if I wanted to short this, if it happens to go below that line, you know, I could just simply turn this on like that. See how that says short enabled? Short inside by 1 tick, that'll fire short if it touches that line inside it. Okay. And the second it touches it, you should get that trade. You can also use auto on it also by simply turning that on, and then it'll get as many contracts as you have down. See how quick that is? It just touched the line, touches it again, and if it touches it again, it'll fire that third contract, or it may wait till it breaks this one since it's no longer touching this one. Let me just make it do that to show you how that works. See, right now it's not going to do this line anymore. It's going to do that one. The moment it comes below it, it'll fire that third contract. So that's how the SE, see how that's in 3 now? Okay, so these are called just basically enabling buttons is what they are. If this isn't enabled, it won't fire anything. Let me just show you what I mean. If you forget accidentally and don't have it armed, this isn't going to fire anything. Even if it comes below that line, it won't fire anything because there's nothing selected. See, I'd already touched it, no firing, right? So to fire it, what do you have to do? You have to turn this on. If that's on, it will fire. Okay? This is called the wedge. It can actually be used like a wedge, or it can be used like just a ray. And you have to remember, though, which is the T and which is the B. Top, bottom. It's that simple. B is bottom, T is top. See how that'll fire like that? But you have to have it enabled. Now, it's also got other features on it too. What if I got into a trade short and this thing decided to pop above that ray and decided to go up? I can actually either flatten my trade or I can even reverse my trade. That's reverse enabled right there. So if that goes back above that ray, this will actually fire to the upside instead. Watch, I'll make it do it. Just got to touch on the other side. Except for one thing, I ought to turn that on. And I didn't. We'll do it like that. That's my B button. That should have reversed on that puppy just then. Let me see what I did. It may be the way I've got my line going. Let's just do it on the other one instead. Just to make sure it all works. That should fire long above that line. Yeah, there you go. So it was just the way I didn't have my line. Okay. So these are pretty good, but you've also got to watch, make sure that you never get the third dot outside the area, and always make sure that you have the proper thing turned on. Because if you've got a short turned on and you got a long enabled here, it's not going to do anything. If I wanted to add to this trade, you could actually add by just simply touching that, and it'll fire another contract if it touches it. Okay, so these are some pretty cool little features on here that you can utilize in your trading. The wedge is a pretty powerful tool that I really, really like. Not sure exactly why that didn't fire there, but see what we're doing. Oh, it did. Okay. It's just where I'm moving my lines, evidently. Let's see, one thing that's confusing about the wedge is T and B button. When price goes beyond the cross of the lines and T becomes B. Yeah, that's true. Kenneth's saying, and I agree with this, because what Kenneth is talking about right here is that this is your B button, this is your T button, okay? But if this actually crosses this, this is now your B button. See, even now this is no longer your T because it's not under or above price. It's below price. So watch what I'm talking about. Just go ahead and reverse it if it touches the line. So see, that's the B button. So if it touches that line, that should actually, you can make them different colors. We don't have it made to where you can change the colors for long and short. I did have that in Ninja 7. And that may be something that I actually work with here in the future with the programmer, because I like the wedge in Ninja 7 the best because it was one ray. But truthfully, to be a wedge, though, it needs to actually be a wedge. But you can change this, though, okay? You can change this to where you wanted a different color. I'll show you how to do that. You just go to strategy. You got to disable. We're not in a trade at all, so disable. And then right down here under your colors, your object setup color. And let's see if, is that under, that's menu colors. I think it's right up here. There's an active color for the wedge. I could have sworn there was one for the wedge, but maybe it's actually just the object setup color here. Let's try that, just for the fun of it. He moved some of this around just to let you know that some of these things have been moved just recently because he's cleaning it up. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so you can change the colors of it, but you don't have a, like, you've got a good idea though if you're, like below the price green and above the price red, where they'd automatically just change colors if you changed them. That wouldn't be a bad idea. I could sure talk to him about that. Okay. But that's the wedge feature. Okay. Now, after the wedge feature, there's a feature called midband. Okay. Now, midband trade, what it actually is it's going to look for a trade at the midband plus or minus X ticks. Okay. So this is your little offset right here. Okay. Like if I wanted to fire a midband trade, if it came down within 4 ticks of that midband and a bar close to the upside, then I would just simply set this for 4, turn it on where it would stay on. And then when this comes down into that little box right here, let me get rid of the wedge. Okay. This, when it comes down inside this little shadow right here, this would actually, as long as it gets within 4 ticks of that midband, should actually fire a trade long if it even touches within that 4 ticks, because that's what we got it set for. Now, if I set it at 0 instead, then it's got to actually touch midband. Okay, and you don't always get that. So like this little trade right here, see, if that started going up, without touching midband, it would never fire. I don't think that touched it. It came within a tick. See there? So that won't fire. So you got to kind of pick your poison, so to speak. I kind of like 2 or 3 ticks above it, simply because that seems to be an area that works pretty well. I like, say, within 2 and sometimes even like 3, because if you get within 3 ticks of the midband and a bar goes up, that should actually fire a trade by simply having the long enabled. Okay. Now I like these little dots too, because the little dots seem to be work quite well. See, like that blue dot right there. Now see how that fired, because I got within 3 ticks of the midband and it fired to the upside. See, that's the way a midband trade works. You just simply tell it what offset you want from the midband, and then it'll fire the trade accordingly. Like this trade, even if you set it over here for 3 ticks under the mid or above the midband, it wouldn't have fired until that bar anyway, because it waits for a bar to close up. Okay. Anybody have any questions on that feature right there? Because midband, we used to have it to where it automatically just looked for 4 ticks above, and if it fired up from there, it would fire the midband trade. But we added an offset to it because we had people that wanted it to be able to control it. Like if you want it to touch midband, for instance, see, it's never touched midband so far. Okay, so those trades would not fire if that's set at 0. Now, if it's at 0 and it touches midband, and then the trade goes up, closes up, then it will fire. Matter of fact, that went even deeper, so that bar going up should fire. Okay. This is recorded though, Wasim, going over some of the details about the little trading system. See how that at 0 still fired because the bar went up. Okay. Now, what I do a lot of times, if I get around to midband, and my son and I both do this, is I'm not as worried about, for instance, let's say that this was doing this in real time. Well, if that bar closes up, then I'm pretty much ready to take that trade. You see what I mean? Because, we're floating around a mid-band. We got a little lower high, but not much, but we're manipulating it. But let's say, for instance, that if that bar goes up, that I'm just going to go ahead and decide to get in the trade. And if that bar closes up, I use bar close. But you can use the mid-band feature. See there how that fired? Can you have both LE and SE at the same time? Absolutely. Let me show you how that works. Let's say, well, this is not a sideways market, but let's pretend you're in a sideways market. So if you had long enabled, short enabled, if the bar closes down, it would fire the trade short instead of long. Now keep in mind, you wouldn't do this with this color background, but this will do it. See, that's long enabled, short enabled. So if that bar closes down, it will fire the trade because it's just simply bar close. See there? Okay. Would you put a tight stop on it? Absolutely. Okay. So that's a really good feature on Object Trader too. Now there's another thing you can do too. What if you said, you know what? I want 3 contracts. If this thing, another bar closes down and another bar closes down, I'm in 3 because it looks like it's getting lower highs. And see, you just go into auto trading instead, and then be sure and turn this off once it gets in the last trade. That way you don't keep firing them. Everybody understand that, how that works? This is a pretty well featured little tool that's been built here. And you just got to kind of learn to play around with it to see what it does, because it does a lot. Okay. All right. So the LE, SE, T, and B buttons will be for region, auto region tick, bar close, long enabled, short enabled, wedge, okay, mid band, phantom, midband phantom, power dots, trend power dots, lightning, except lightning you simply use long enabled. You don't use the T and B buttons except on the region, these regions here, wedge, okay, predictor. Now predictor is pretty cool too. We'll go over that tonight also. I think I can, let me see where we're at. Wedge, midband, phantom. Let's do phantom first. Now the way phantom works is you have to get that background. Okay, I'm going to make it do it so you can see it. Okay, so let's make it retrace a little bit. And phantom is at line 2. Okay, so if this gets like within line 2, I can even do like a negative on it. Let's say I want it to get to line 1 or close to it. Then if it gets, the color background has to change. So you're starting to get the, not quite the background just yet. See, that's the background. Notice the background changed. And then if the bar goes up, then this phantom will fire as long as we're in that 4-tick area that I just told it to be, as long as that bar closes up. Okay. Now again, I like this little feature. See these little dots right here? Those are pretty good. That's called trend dots. Okay. Now keep in mind a phantom, you're looking at line 2 on a long and line 6 on a short. But if you want it to get closer to line 1, what if I said, you know what, I don't even like this trade unless it touches line 1? Well, then I would just do this at -6, because that way it's got to get to where it touches line 1, and then see, like that's touching line 1, and then if it fires to the upside, it should fire the trade. Okay, because that touched line 1, and so you just got your other contract. So it's pretty cool featured little tool also. Personally, I like to just fire a trade. When I see this happen like this right here on that bar, I'll fire that trade. I look to the left to trade the right. They're usually going to check your swing to the left anyway. And I put my stop at line 0 because that's usually a pretty good spot for it. OT just keeps getting better and better. It does, doesn't it? I'll show you the trend power dot. Now the trend power dot, you got to keep in mind that the trend power dot is going to be a little bit later because it's really looking for like a little bit of confirmation. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's go to trend power dot. Or let's go do power dot first. Power dot is just the green one on the long, and it's the blue one. The blue only happens if it gets in the midband area or the phantom area, or anywhere even below. If you get it's got to be in a trend. Now this right here, for instance, let's see if this will fire a power dot here in just a second. I'll make it do it. But I can show you where they fire. We don't have to keep firing them. I can show you where they do. All right, let's make it fire one. Now, if you've got it on power dots, it'll fire on the green ones or the blue ones. Okay, now notice that if this goes up, this isn't necessarily going to fire a green dot. Okay, this actually would only fire a green dot if this kind of pulls back a little bit first and then fires it. And those can be later. See how you got a green dot just then? And I didn't have it. Well, I did have it turned on. I'm not sure exactly why I didn't fire there. Not sure. Did I have it on? Yeah, I've got it on power dots. Okay, probably just the playback part because playback's kind of squirrely sometimes. But anyway, the way these fire on these dots, and I'm working on the algorithm on this, because I don't personally like to get in this trade here, and I don't like to get in this trade here, and I don't frankly like getting in this trade here. See, that's where that fires. Right under the dot is the bar close up or down in the case of a short. Okay? What I do like though is this new little feature on here, this Viper clone. I have stayed away from, like even replicando and stuff because frankly, I get to watching my own charts and everything just like y'all do. And I did just like Kenneth several times where you just forget what your main account was and you end up firing on only one account when you planned on firing on three. So I like ours because you just simply choose what you want. Okay, let's see. Did I cover the auto region close and auto region ticks? Well, Wasim, I covered that one last week. So that one was really covered in detail too of how that works. So we'll just go ahead and show some of these others tonight. Okay, so I showed the Viper clone, I showed the wedge, showed the mid-band and phantom. Now the mid-band phantom is just simply looks for both of them. So I won't really need to show that. That simply looks for mid-band or phantom. All right, the power dots I already explained, your green ones, your blue ones, trend power dots, regular power dots. Okay, lightning, what lightning is you have to go from one extreme to the other. This is not my favorite trade, okay? I may even take it out, I don't know. Because to me it's late. Because it's got to get a low, a high, a higher low, and a higher high. And by then, I've already got my 10 ticks. Let's just go ahead and make it go red though. As soon as this goes red, this would be a legitimate trade setup back to the upside, as long as it doesn't break totally. Okay, now this should, the way this is, this isn't going to turn red until it closes below this swing. You can tell by looking at it. And I'll show you how. Okay, see it turned red. Now, if I turn lightning on, the lightning feature, and turn that on, then when this actually trends a little low, high, higher low, and higher high, then it will go ahead and fire a trade. And what it has to do is it has to get a low, a high, a higher low. I'll just go ahead and let this close down. And then it has to break a little swing. Okay. And like I say, to me, that's late because I'd already be doing this. Boom, I'm in. See what I mean? And I'd probably go, well, I'm in another one. Because when you see that type of a trade, just jump on it. Okay. So lightning, in a real-time chart, let me show you where lightning would actually fire because we've been manipulating this since the webinar started. But here's an example right here of lightning, okay? Let's say this had been heading down. You got a high, low, lower, high, lower, low. All right, then you have a high, a low, and a higher high. That's when lightning would change to green, okay, when that bar closed, okay? That's just simply a little swing. And if you draw it, you'll see it. That's all lightning does, is it has a higher low, a higher high, and it will fire green, okay? If it has lower, like let's say you start your lightning here, high, low, lower high, same low, high, low, lower high, lower low, anything underneath this swing right here with a close bar should fire it. See your high, low, lower high, lower low on that bar. That should fire that to red. Okay. I use lightning more to get out of a trade than get in a trade. Because let's say, for instance, let's go to some real-time stuff. Remember this morning on crude oil? Trades were called, by the way. Okay. But what you can do with lightning is you can get out of a trade. Let's say, for instance, that you got in a trade like right here where it kind of broke and kissed. Remember that this morning? So then you're just stair stepping lightning, right? So when lightning breaks and closes, that would change to green. So you can get out of that trade by simply just turning this feature on as a trail stop, because you have a lightning trail stop. We haven't even talked about that. Okay, I think I'll go over these trail stops next week because these are fairly elaborate too, but you do have a lightning trail stop, a power trend trail stop, and a stealth trail stop. Okay, but everybody see how you can get out of trades like that? Let me just draw it so you can see it. I'll draw lightning 2. See how that's a low, a high, a higher low? The moment that bar closed, lightning 2 would get you out of that trade. Okay. If you wanted lightning 1 instead to do it, you would choose lightning 1, get rid of lightning 2, and it looks like the same place on lightning 1. Might have been right across here possibly that changed that to green, but for sure same spot as the lightning 2. Okay. And then you got one more trade. Okay. You had your lightning thrust, retrace, thrust, didn't take out the swing, kept on trucking, and it finally takes out the swing right there above low, high, higher low, higher high. So that would actually be lightning to get you out of the trade. Okay. Sometimes it'll get you out prematurely though, because you might want to ride that trade, because it did pretty well this morning and we had some targets on it too. Yeah, I had them drawn because they were 76% retracement, remember? It's pretty cool. Okay. So let's see, we've gone over wedge, mid-band phantom, power dots, lightning. Let's look at predictors. Oh, we got that thing going like crazy. Just a second. Let me just back it out real quick and we'll get some real data on it. Bear with me just a second. Get some real data on it. Bear with us a second. There we go. This is your real data right now. Okay. So let's just go over what predictor does. Okay. Just leave it in sim. That's fine. Okay. Now the way predictor would do is it actually draws a box over your ellipses. Now, I think this is past this one, so it's not going to do it now. Let's turn on predictor and let's just see if it gets one. Now, this is real data, so we may not get one. See if we get a box. Look how beautiful our scripts are, though. I started this webinar at 7 o'clock. Did you see that? I know some of you even took the trade probably because that's a mid-band trade. Perfect trade setup. And that's real data. Just think if you were using the Viper clone with a few accounts, okay, and you decided to go ahead and already take some coin. Maybe you took it at this swing. Who cares? Let's say that you just did that. You got in at like 60, let's say 58, and you got out at 42. That's what is that? 16 ticks? That's 160 times like 5 accounts. That's an $800 trade. And that Viper clones is going to be a big difference in your bottom line. Because what if this would have just decided to get you in, but then it went up and took out the swing at 5 o'clock? Well, then guess what? You might have lost 70 bucks, but you didn't have 5 contracts on and lose 350. See what I mean? So to me, this type of little trade setup is literally going to be worth its weight in gold. Because like my son and I did today, just jump in, don't load the boat, just jump in with one or two contracts. And, like YM's $5 a tick, gold is 10, you know, uh, his gold trade, by the way, go back on gold to about 6 o'clock in the morning. See that little trade right there? We were obviously looking at our fibs and everything because we can't go with the auto fib now. That's a new feature too, by the way, that some of you don't even know about. See that pullback right there? 61%. That is the most common pullback I've seen in my life. Perfect pullback. Now, what if you said, you know what, I like the 50, I'm fine with the 50. Well, then you have to hold it through that swing. That's why it's not a good idea to just throw in a bunch of contracts. Because what if you said, okay, right here is your 50 and it bounced? Okay, and that did do a decent little trade. But what if you waited for the 50 again and you said, you know what, I'm going to go again, and they go, uh-oh, they took you for 7 ticks. Well, then guess what? It didn't take out your low, so you just stuck with it and you got a nice trade. Okay, so this way you just won't have to be loading the boat. Okay, well, we're actually 6 minutes past, and I'm trying to make these shorter, just an hour, because I'm going to start doing some real training videos that'll be just really short, 5 to 7 minutes, and go over exactly how to do all these trade setups. So we didn't get to predictor or stealth or even time trades. So I'll do those on the next webinar. But next webinar, we're going to talk about these puppies right here. These trailing stops are really, really, really good. Okay. And also I'll talk about how you can scale them too with the auto region, because I do that all the time. For instance, if you hit this top right here and you did an auto region, well, guess what? It kind of went below it, didn't it? So could you get out of the trade way up there? Yes. And just use your auto region to do it. Just turn it on to, notice I put yellow around it. That's okay, I'll fix that. But see, you could actually just use this to scale out even, okay? Let me see if I missed any other questions. With the trade automatic start when the price crosses above mid-band. Will the trade automatic start when the price crosses above mid-band? Well, are you talking about like the trend dots? Because if you had them turned on, yes. Now, like, let's say, for instance, like right now, if I did want to short this, but what if I said, you know what, maybe it'll go up and check this high. You could actually turn your box on both ways if you wanted to. See there, it just fired a little trade. Okay, put your stop nice and tight just in case. Pretty tight stop right there. Okay, but that's a legitimate trade. It's boring time of night. I don't ever trade this because it's so slow. Okay, but see, if you think about it, if this was to come down to that target of 10 and you had several accounts set up, then guess what? You're up nicely. I just set up real quick those little accounts right there. I wanted to make sure that his last setup that he did works for all of the different accounts. So this is an Earn Max account, just brand new. It's number 1, 2, and 3. I won't care if it funds or anything like that. I just want to make sure that it clones. Okay. Yeah, that's the thing Kenneth says, and the bottom line is it limits your daily loss. Because, for instance, like this little trade's only up like $10 right now. But what if you had it times, eight accounts? You're already up $80. That's more than most people make in the last 5 minutes. See what I mean? There's 160 if you had them on 8. There's what? 240 if you had them on 8. See what I mean? This little trader can be worth its weight in gold. Now, we didn't turn them on. They're not on. But if they were, guess what? You just made yourself a little bit of coin with one bar. Okay, that's going to be the power of Viper clones, and the fact that you'll always know what account you're in and what your clones are. Okay, so we're glad to add this to our repertoire of great tools, and everybody that's with us has got it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap. It's 10 after. I apologize for it being quite that long. Just think about this though. See, you're up $60, and if you were on 8 clones, you would literally be already up. Well, we just had 80. You could have hit the button and kept $70 times 8 accounts. You're up 560. Now it's going to retrace on you, and you're not going to have a dime of it left. See what I mean? So those type of deals can really pay off, in my opinion. Okay. All right, everyone. We're going to do this tomorrow for real again, and be sure if you don't understand Viper clones, you got to realize that when you click, it's going to give you a disclaimer first, and then you're going to be able to choose any accounts you want to trade just by simply turning them on. And the moment you click the button, they will all fire. Okay? All right. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Thanks everybody for coming to the webinar tonight. And I will get to working on some training, and Randy's also even working on, we're going to try to totally redo the trading manual that was 2015. He says it's real outdated. So we're going to do something with it. Okay? Thanks everybody. Have a good one. Adios. You betcha. Thanks everyone for that. I've had nothing but compliments on this little tool right here. This is, when my programmer finally said he could do this and he was looking forward to doing it, I knew we were going to have a great tool. So, like I say, I love it. I mean, if you would have just done that trade just a moment ago times 8, you would have been up $500 approximately. All right, everyone. Thanks. See you in the morning.